Did you know that 80% of people paying for fitness are Millennials or Gen Zers? How about this one? Live fitness is still the pinnacle, but it's definitely supported by digital. Where did I find these 2 tidbits of information? Well, these tidbits, plus a whole lot more, are found inside the Les Mills Consumer Report, and today's guest is here to share the findings. If you are a gym owner, a group fitness director, or a GM, you won't want to miss today's episode on the Fitness Business Podcast. Welcome, old friends and new to the Fitness Business Podcast. I am so glad that you are joining us today. And if this is your first time listening to the podcast, welcome to the family. Did you know that the podcast has over 400 episodes? I know, it's crazy. We literally have every topic imaginable. Be sure to go to fitnessbusinesspodcast.com where you can check out our entire library of shows. I'm your host, Dory Nugent, and today's episode is centered around the Les Mills Global Fitness Report. We've invited CEO of Les Mills US, Sean Turner, to break down the report. Now, if you aren't familiar with the Global Report, let me explain. The Les Mills Global Fitness Report spotlights how the world will work out as we emerge from the pandemic with live experiences and omni-channel offerings tipped to be key differentiators for fitness. So get ready to learn about the key trends in fitness. We will hear from Sean in about 2 minutes. First, a huge thank you to One Fit Stop for supporting our show.
One Fit Stop is modern fitness studio software built for the growing multi-location studio, providing scheduling, client management, programming, payment collection tools, and more that will set your business up to grow. To find out more, go to onefitstop.com or click on the link in today's show notes.
Hats off to our podcast partner, One Fit Stop. Make sure you check them out at www.onefitstop.com.
Get your pen ready now for Keep Me's Fit Bizpiration.
Sean, what are your top 3 takeaways from the Les Mills Global Report?
I think the top 3 are that live is back and it's in more demand than ever. That's the first one. I think having a high quality omni-channel offering is essential to successful recovery as we make our way back from the pandemic. And I think your team is key to your club's recovery as well. And it's your most valuable asset. So how you deploy that and recruit, train, motivate them is super, super important.
Jessica Freeman from Just Creatives is joining me next week to teach you the importance of a great website. Jess Freeman helps health and wellness professionals build authority and get more clients. Hang tight because after this week's full interview, I'll introduce you to Jess along with her answers to the Quickfire 5 questions. MyZone has pioneered unique wearables with talking point technology that makes the difference. Reach more members of your community and keep them engaged for longer through motivation and gamification wherever they choose to work out. In the gym, at home, or outdoors, we're stronger together. Get in the zone at myzone.org. Let's transition into this week's interview with Sean Turner. FBP family, I am so excited. If you know me, everybody out there, you know I am a Les Mills junkie. I like to say I'm one of the OGs of Les Mills. And today our special guest is from Les Mills. Sean Turner joins us. He is the CEO of Les Mills US. Sean, you're just like a rock star to me. I'm so excited you're here.
Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot, Dory. Always exciting to see people that are connected to the brand and that are so passionate. Always fun.
Oh, I'm very passionate. I drink the Kool-Aid. I am, I go back to when Dan and Rachel were still married and, shattered dreams when we got the news that they were no longer going to be married anymore.
Going back. That's going back.
But hey, that's life. Life goes on. All is good as long as everybody's happy. I'm happy, but I'm speaking of happy. I'm so happy that you're here. And you're going to talk to us and actually all of our listeners today about the Les Mills Global Report.
Yeah, it was a report that we've done late last year. We interviewed over 12,000 people in over 7 countries. So it's pretty comprehensive. And what we are looking to do is find out more about how the fitness consumer has evolved, through the pandemic, really, and how we need to adapt to best meet their needs going forward.
Absolutely. There's no doubt that, everybody had to adapt. Everybody had to pivot. Everybody had to change gears, shift gears, you name it. But I will say, and we laughed a little bit about this before we started recording, is, I asked you, because I'm out of the club right now. So do you still print the book and send the book? Because to me, when I got that book, A, it was like Christmas. And B, I carried that thing around, dog-eared the specific pages, took it to all my staff meetings. I think I have the thing memorized inside, outside, and upside down.
Well, yeah, we usually do hard copies. This year we moved to a digital copy, so we'll take it into account that people like to carry it around. But yeah, we've got a digital copies, and it's much easier, of course, to distribute over a larger group of people. So we will give people a link after this podcast that they can go and enjoy and download, and then, just reach out to us with any questions they have.
We would love if you gave us the link. And, I would be the person that would be killing 2 trees, printing off the book so I could still carry it around. But then, hey, I also told you I am still from the era of the Les Mills kit coming in the mail with the CD and the book. So I'm really giving away my age and how long I have been a Les Mills fanatic.
Unfortunately, I remember those days, or fortunately too. So I've been in that industry for a while.
All right. So enough about my reminiscing. Let's get started here. And I really want to ask you, as far as the global report, what question did the Les Mills Global Report set out to answer this year?
Well, as I just mentioned, it was really about looking at how fitness consumers have evolved through the pandemic. A lot of their thinking around how they exercise, what they're exposed to, being at home, etc., changed them. So we really wanted to find out more about that so we could best support our partners in how they can win with that new consumer and what needs to adapt or shift in their offerings in their clubs. So those were the 2 big things, really.
And how did you make out with that? Were you able to gather enough data? Like, how many people do you interview in order to gather all of this data?
As I mentioned before, we're over 12,000. So it's a fairly big data set. And it's also global, so across more than 7 countries. So we were able to tell from that quite a lot about more than, that's why we call it a global report, because it's not only US or UK based, there's a few more countries. But of course, you can tell a lot from the trends that came back, and there were some key themes in there for sure.
So speaking of key things, I'd love for you just to talk a little bit about what were the key findings for club operators to consider?
Well, the first big one that we found is that live exercise classes, etc., and group exercises back. There was a lot of fear in the industry around how that would work, etc., because people have been isolated for so long that it's so important for them to have a social connection with other people and community and be motivated in the group setting. We saw that some occupancy rates from clubs that have got back to live were at around 120% of pre-pandemic rates. So some of them had actually got better occupancy than they had pre-pandemic. Of course, that's not across the board. Some people are still challenged in that space. But we find that, having clubs cater to that live audience is super important to recover quicker currently. So that was one of the big ones. Another one was that hybrid or digital and live offering is here to stay. A lot of people thought that would be a fad and digital will only be used while people weren't in the club. But we're seeing more and more people are going to continue with digital workouts post-pandemic. I think the stat is around 80% say that they'll continue doing digital workouts post-pandemic. So it's really important for clubs to deliver a really high quality, what we call omni-channel, multi-channel experience. I know that's a bit of a buzzword now, but you'll probably keep hearing it because, as I say, it's here to stay. A few other things that stood out was that we realized that with people being isolated for so long, people really desire contact, community, and a heightened social experience. So clubs should really look at how they, getting people back into the club with club events, using their teams to kind of drive greater and more interesting social experience. So that was a big one as well. And then some things that shouldn't be surprising, but sometimes we forget about them, is that our people are really a great differentiating factor. So a lot of people in business, if it's in clubs or out of clubs, have seen that our people are truly our most valuable asset, and they really drive engagement in the club. So to allow people to re-engage past members and to help you acquire new and refer new members, your team is super important. And then the final big one we found was that more people are interested and aware of health than ever before. And because of that, there's a large group of people that desire to get started and are beginners in their journey in fitness. And that's a great opportunity for clubs. So thinking more about how we get them into the clubs, how we overcome some barriers and needs that they may have, and help them feel comfortable so they can start on that journey and be successful.
All right. And just one more time, the word omni-channel. I know I even said to you, like, hey, can you explain omni-channel for me? I'm going to have you just repeat again the definition that Les Mills has come out with omni-channel.
Well, I'm not sure if we have a definition, but it's out there and it's been around in digital marketing for a while. And it's just basically in our industry, it's really around about having a hybrid offering, meaning that you can access content in various forms in different channels. One would be live in the clubs, and another one would be digital, which would be online. And having a blend of those two is quite important to consumers these days. So that's what, when we refer to omnichannel, we, in simple terms, referring to that hybrid model.
Okay, so speaking of omnichannel, omnichannel has featured predominantly in the industry discourse since the start of the pandemic. What does it mean to you in the sense, and what did the report find that it means to the consumers?
Well, we have, I think our last report, we shared that around 80% of people paying for fitness are millennials and Gen Z. And what's really important to them is freedom, flexibility to be able to work out anywhere. And they've been pretty spoiled by most other brands that are out there that they have a brand affinity with. So that's a really important element of that finding. And a standout finding from the report is that those people, and the majority of people, want to continue with digital fitness once the live fitness returns or clubs opened, was at various periods around the world. And they seek a 60-40 split, meaning 60% live and 40% digital. So clubs are actually really uniquely positioned to be able to deliver this. And I think that's what gives us such an advantage in the club space over digital-only competitors like Peloton, Apple, Google, and all the big players coming in for us. So I think that we're very uniquely positioned to deliver that. But of course, there are elements to that have to be in place for you to deliver that successfully.
Yeah, I work in an office during the day, and I'm still surprised how many and it's predominantly females, the girls still talk about the online fitness. Actually, today, as a matter of fact, two of the girls at lunch were like, well, I'm going to run home and get a quick workout in, because they do this 30 minutes, online fitness routine. So I'm always surprised. I'm an in-club person. I think just maybe, again, I'm, old school. I love to be in that club environment, but it's still strong with a lot of participants out there.
Remember, people are still saying that live is the pinnacle, right? People in our report confirm that. And that's why we said at the beginning, at the top of the questions that you asked, that live is back. People really are looking forward to going back to a club, sweating with other people, getting that motivation and that contact with other humans. So live is still the pinnacle, but it's supported by digital, and therefore you need the blend.
Yeah, for me, walking into that club and that beat of that music blaring, like that's a high for me. So it's like, if I'm going to do the workout at home, it's like, I have to turn the stereo up really loud, leave the house, and then like walk through the front door like I'm going into the gym in order to get hyped up. I'm like, yeah. All right. Well, for all of our club owners out there listening, what do most clubs do to nail the omni-channel experience and maximize the opportunities that this affords?
Yeah, good question. And many people ask it. I think now it's probably really nailing the content side. I think that a lot of people started off with the MVP, like minimum that they could do in that space just to get by and keep their members engaged at home. But I think as the pandemic's gone on, the expectations of consumers has increased significantly. So it has to be a really premium offering. And I think we're in the age of content 2.0, we say often at Les Mills. So it's really important to have that super high quality content. But I'm not only speaking about that in the sense of digital. I think that clubs have to also double down on the live experience to really give them an edge, as I mentioned before, over some of their digital-only rivals, right? Because there's a lot of competition out there. Mm-hmm. So our successful partners that we see doing well in this space, they really usually offer a high-quality mix of in-club and out-of-club content. So in-club, they'd probably have really good live programming, that have live in-club virtual. So digital in club, so to speak, which is quite popular now, especially with the challenges around distancing, etc. And it's also a great tool to kind of keep people engaged and expand your schedule, especially when it's challenging to fill your schedule right now because there's resource challenges, etc. So we see club partners using that. That's in club. And then out of club, you're looking at on-demand offerings, digital on-demand offerings, and live streaming out of their clubs. I think also an important thing to understand in that mix that we've seen is our partners often have a blend of a high-quality brand partner in that space, which hopefully is us, but there's others out there. And then also they want to be promoting their own rockstar instructors that are connecting with members all the time. Because obviously their digital can also drive people back to live. And it's also a great way of accessing people to drive live growth from non-members that might see that quality content online. So a mix is important.
Super important. We all know that, during the pandemic, the focus has been on technology. What is the role for our teams in the age of omnichannel?
Yeah. Team members, as I said earlier, it's come out that it's a super, super important part of being successful these days. So I think one of the things that we saw is dialing up the social experience has really been key to clubs' recoveries. Ones that have recovered well have really put on great events and they really drive that area because that's what people have really been missing during the pandemic and continue when we're going in and out all the time. So there's a huge role that teams and instructors can play in attracting new joiners and engaging them ongoing and also motivating those members to stay longer in the club. So I think that they play a key role.
Mm-hmm, for sure. And I'd love to just ask you this, because again, I told you I'm very familiar with the global report, but any other standout findings from the report?
Yeah, we've got quite a lot of stats in there and that, but I won't give some of that stuff away in the smaller findings. But I think the biggest one is that, a lot of people predicted that brick and mortar would die, and there were lots of major articles written on it by, fairly respected magazines and journals. But, it's clear from the report that gyms aren't dying. We believe that there's a super bright future for those who can adapt to the shifting consumer expectations. We think that keeping it human and social will be a key part, and we believe that that's where clubs really have an edge over the competitors and the 375,000 fitness apps that are out there, right? So we believe that that's important. And beginners, we feel there's a massive opportunities for clubs to grow. So reaching out, well beyond the traditional 20% pool of members, towards mass adoption. And I think we're in a really interesting time now where people are so conscious about health, wellness, mental health, that we can do some interesting stuff in that space.
When I would get the book again, I would love to go through it and kind of rank like the top 3 things that just completely surprised me, whether it was a serious point or a silly point or whatever it would be. Is there one thing for you personally that you were really surprised over when the report was finished and you read through?
One of the standouts was in the beginning, actually, and how comfortable they need to be to come into the clubs. And I think we've all worked in fitness a long time, or people that are listening to the podcast, I would imagine they're, people that are connected to the industry in some ways. When I was at previous companies in the fitness industry, we always used to challenge ourselves saying, how easy is it for people to exercise? Because when you like exercising, you're you're in the minority. What about the majority that actually don't like it and actually feel that it's demotivating or it's painful, right? One of the stats that came out of this report was that although 81% of people are very interested, of beginners, of absolute beginners, and there's 27% of people that rate themselves as absolute beginners. 88% of those are very interested in doing group exercise or a group class with other people. However, only 61% of beginners ultimately prefer to exercise alone. So the idea is the gap between what people are interested in and what they would do is up to us as an industry to crack that code, to be able to actually make them comfortable at coming into those clubs, looking at how we attract those members in, we make them comfortable. And those are some of the things we speak about throughout the findings of the report that I think are quite interesting. Looking at onboarding, how we up the social experience, having our teams reach out to them and support them, all of that stuff that is fairly challenging, probably the cutting edge of common sense, maybe, but we often don't do it very well.
So I just have one last question before we wrap up here today. I'd love for you to share. We always like the scoop here, the inside scoop on the Fitness Business Podcast. What can you tell us that Les Mills has in store for the near future?
For the near future, actually something pretty cool. We're actually going to release VR body combat program on Oculus Quest 2, and that should be launching, I think, in the US on the 4th of February, and in the time zones that are New Zealand, Australia, etc., and in between on the 3rd. So yeah, I've been playing with an Oculus. I have one at the back in my office. Super, super fun, and very exciting to see what's going to happen with VR, virtual reality, and fitness in the metaverse going forward. So we're pretty excited about it, and we'd love people to try it out. And definitely wherever you see us the rest of the year at events, etc., we'll give you a crack at doing body combat VR with the Oculus Quest 2.
Honestly, I love our guests. They always do such a phenomenal job, and they certainly enlighten me and inspire me week after week. I hope you agree. Sean Turner today certainly did just that. If you would like to ask any follow-up questions that maybe I didn't ask, please head over to our show notes for Sean's contact information. The show notes can be found at fitnessbusinesspodcast.com. Or if you really just want to make your life easier, you can subscribe to the show notes where they will be emailed directly to your inbox. And that can also be done at fitnessbusinesspodcast.com. Now, in 30 seconds, I'm going to introduce you to the founder of Just Creatives, which means Jessica Freeman is here next week.
G'day, it's JT here. And I was talking to Blair McCaney, the CEO of one of our sponsors, MX Metrics, the other day. And I gave him a hard time about his company's tagline, defeating mediocrity. By definition, that means he's excluding the majority of the market. But Blair just wouldn't budge. He only wants to work with operators who want to punch mediocrity in the face, really smash it. So I've talked to a few of his customers, like Joe Shirelli from Gainesville Health and Fitness, and yeah, it's for real. While Joe is a nice guy, he isn't satisfied with mediocrity either. He's crushing it as well. So I'm still dubious about selling only to operators who want to defeat mediocrity. But if this resonates with you, I reckon you should check them out. Go to mxmetrics.com. But remember, only if you're interested in smashing mediocrity.
Quickfire 5.
The Quickfire 5 segment is kind of like speed dating. You have about 2 minutes to get to know our upcoming guest. The next 2 minutes is all about Jessica Freeman from Just Creatives. Jessica Freeman is our guest next week, so I'm excited to ask her our Quickfire 5 questions. Jessica is a graphic and web designer. She is the owner of Just Creatives. Jessica, welcome to the Fitness Business Podcast.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be here.
We are excited to have you. It's a pleasure to have first-time guests on our show. I get kind of excited to meet our new guests and really just to welcome you to part of the Fitness Business Podcast family.
Yeah.
All right. We have 4 super fun questions to ask you, or I have 4 super fun questions to ask you. And then the last one is going to be a little elevator pitch. So let's get started. First one is, what is a life lesson that you learned from the pandemic?
I would say to just not be afraid to fail, to try things new. I did a lot of pop-up offers, just trying out new things just to see what would work, what could help people who might, be struggling with budgets and scheduling. And that really actually seemed to work.
Perfect. Now, if you could play a character in a movie, what character would it be?
I would say we're going to throw it way back. Jennifer Garner in 13 Going on 30. One of my favorite movies. And when I walked out of that movie, I remember being like, I want to be a designer so I can have her job. That was what I thought after I saw that movie.
That is a throwback. That's a good one. We haven't had that one before. All right, please complete this statement. Sunday mornings, you can find me
either at church or playing with my newborn daughter.
Yes, congratulations. You told me you have a 5-month-old. So hats off to you becoming a new mom.
Thanks.
So what is your number one book recommendation for all of our FBP family?
I would say one of my favorite business books is Superfans by Pat Flynn. It's all about growing an audience and a community and not just getting clients, but people who are super fans of you.
Super cool.
Yeah.
All right. And finally, here it is, your chance to pitch your show that's going to be coming next week, which is going to be all about making your website for you. I love the topic. We get a lot of questions about websites, graphic design, things like that. So take it away.
Yeah, so I know a lot of gym owners and fitness professionals get really frustrated and overwhelmed by their websites. So we're going to be talking about how to increase retention in your gym and increase conversions on your website so it actually works for you and helps you get more clients.
Jessica Freeman is here to educate you about your website. She wants you to make your website the best it possibly can be for your business. Subscribe to the show on your favorite podcast player, or better yet, let us do the work for you and we'll send you the show so you don't miss a single episode. Your business will thank you. Subscribe at fitnessbusinesspodcast.com.
Hey, Fitness Business Podcast family, Sarah Pellegrino here, your host of The Value Proposition. 2022 is here, friends, and boy, do I have a stellar lineup of monthly episodes just for you. Each month, I'm bringing you an insightful conversation with a different supplier so you can learn the value they bring to the industry above and beyond their product or service. Don't miss this month's episode of The Value Proposition going live this Friday. You can download anywhere you listen to your podcast or from our website, You can watch the vodcast on our YouTube channel or from our website as well, fitnessbusinesspodcast.com.
Thank you to our founding partner, Active Management, our partners, Keep Me, MyZone, Discover Strength, Tribe Team Training, One Fit Stop, and ISSA. I'd also like to thank our advertisers, Rex Roundtables, MX Metrics, and Vapor Fresh. We believe what you leave behind is not what is engraved in stone monuments, but woven into the lives of others.